Pittsburgh quarterback Mason Rudolph continued his stellar play as the Steelers improved their postseason hopes Saturday with a 17-10 win over the Baltimore Ravens at M.T. Bank Stadium. The Steelers, 10-7, would clinch a playoff berth with either a Houston Texans tie with the Indianapolis Colts on Saturday night, a Jacksonville Jaguars loss to the Tennessee Titans early Sunday afternoon, or a Buffalo Bills loss to the Miami Dolphins on Sunday night. Pittsburgh struck big early in the fourth quarter when Rudolph hit Diontae Johnson for a 71-yard touchdown pass to push the Steelers to a 14-7 lead. It was easily the biggest pass play for either team under wet, cold conditions in Baltimore. Coach Mike Tomlin elected to keep Rudolph as the starting QB even though Kenny Pickett was deemed healthy after an ankle injury. Pittsburgh is 3-0 with Rudolph as the starter. Rudolph went 18 of 20 passing for 152 yards with 1 touchdown and no interceptions with a 115. Zero passer rating. Also, Steelers tailback Najee Harris continued his recent success on the ground with 112 rushing yards on 26 carries, including a 6-yard TD run in the first quarter. On the injury front, Steelers All-Pro edge rusher T.J. Watt left in the third quarter with a knee injury after taking a hit on the leg from a teammate. He was quickly deemed out for the rest of the game. Watt leaped in the air on a play and then had his leg hit by defensive tackle Montravius Adams. Watt laid face down on the wet turf and banged his hand after the injury. After heading to the blue medical tent, Steelers staff took Watt to the locker room. Watt had 2 sacks in the game and holds the NFL lead with 19. He and his brother, J. Are the only players in history with multiple seasons of at least 19 sacks. The Ravens, 13-4, had their 6-game winning streak snapped with the loss. Baltimore clinched the number 1 seed in the AFC during Week 17, securing a first-round bye and home field advantage through to the playoffs. Tyler Huntley started in place of a resting Lamar Jackson for the Ravens. The Baltimore backup QB went 15 of 28 passing for 146 yards with 1 TD and an 80. Four passer rating. The Ravens sat many of their top players either to rest them or let injuries heal, including Jackson, wide receivers Odell Beckham Jr. and Zay Flowers, safety Kyle Hamilton, cornerback Marlon Humphrey and guard Kevin Zeitler. How significant is losing Watt? It's huge. If the Steelers get the help they need to squeak into the playoffs, how much of a contender can they be without their best player? While it's too soon to speculate on the severity of Watt's injury, it can't be good if he was ruled out so quickly in the biggest game of the season. Pittsburgh leaned on its defense throughout this season. Often, it was that side of the ball lugging an anemic offense to improbable wins, even with the top 4 safeties out and 2 of the best 3 inside linebackers injured. The Steelers were looking forward to the possibility of Damontae Kazee returning from suspension for the playoffs. Pro Bowl safety Minkah Fitzpatrick could also be cleared in time for an elimination game. But it's not overstating things to say a Watt injury would overshadow any return of another player. His status will be one of the most. How Pittsburgh kept its playoff hopes alive. The Steelers may or may not qualify for the playoffs, but they did what they had to do, and who would have thought that after losing 3 straight less than a month ago? Saturday's win over the Ravens was the ugliest of the past 3, but Pittsburgh took care of business considering the situation and weather. With it being cold and raining all game and Baltimore sitting a handful of defensive starters, the Steelers did the smart thing and relied heavily on their running game behind Harris's 6th career 100-yard rushing game. Rudolph was a little shaky in the weather, but the combination of a big play to Johnson and the 150-plus yards rushing was all they needed. And that philosophy just may be tough to stop if they get into the playoffs.